So our final panel of the day is, some of you will know if you've been to these events before, that the final discussion is always the future of. So today it's the future of digital sustainability in government. And we've got a panel who you will be familiar with. So I'm going to ask Tom and Matty to join us on the stage as well. So just as a reminder, we've got Tom Parry, Head of Digital Sustainability at DEFRA. We've got Matty Yetter, the Chief Sustainability Officer of CGI. And we've got Ishmael and Jennifer, who you've just heard. Ishmael, who, just to remind you, is the Lead Sustainability Business Architect at DWP, and Jennifer, who is the Head of Digital Sustainability in the Government Digital Service. So this is a very open panel for you to think about, well, for you to share with us your thoughts on what you would like the future of digital sustainability in government to be. I've managed to get through the whole day without tripping over that word once. What you'd like the future to be, but also anything that you've heard today that you'd like to reflect on and sort of bring into the conversation. So I wonder if we come this way down the panels. Let's start with you at the end.
Sure.
Tom.
So first of all, I think it's been a really good day, and I think lots of good sessions, but also some great questions on Slido and in the room. So I think that's the first thing to reflect on. I think there's some sort of good themes. I think what's been good about today in particular is lots of kind of indications about how government and suppliers are working together on this stuff. And I think an acknowledgement that we are starting to do some good work, but an awful lot more still to be done. I think we all kind of acknowledge. Just going back to the kind of slides I showed at the start about where we're thinking on the strategy and some of the themes that are coming up there, I think they were played back throughout the day too. So I think I've taken that as an indication that those are resonating with people, and also some discussions people have kind of come up and talked about joining the GDSA and cross-government groups, so please do reach out to us on that. Some particular points, I guess, really interesting discussion way back at the start of the day now about data, and I'm wondering if that's something we can pick up, particularly in the kind of strategies, a particular issue, how we think about getting better at that. There was a question briefly on it, but we didn't really go any further about kind of international collaboration and stuff, and Ben's presentation talks about the Green Digital Pledge, but there is probably a bit more we could talk about another time about how we tap into some of that international stuff that's going on. Of course, Matty's session, of course, Matty's job is a CSO, and I think perhaps within government and within our own organisations there's a question about how we, if we're in a tech function, how we tap into that CSO function that often sits outside the technology space, but that could be a good sort of relationship that we can get better at using. I've nearly finished. There's something about case studies. So a lot of people asked about, have you got examples, or how do I do it in practice? And I think we haven't really got those at the moment. And I think we definitely could get better at having, beyond one login, having to use Jennifer all the time. We've probably got a few, we could start to generate around that. And then the final point, I think, probably is, and this has come up from some conversations I've had with people across the day, is actually an ask for us in government or public sector to be a bit bolder about being demanding of our suppliers in terms of what we ask for, because that could often help the internal conversations that supplier organisations have about kind of how they prioritise their work. So some really good themes, but I think a really helpful day, certainly for me, to hear some of the questions and presentations. And yes, some really good stuff.
I agree with Tom. Today has been a really insightful day, and I've taken lots of notes, and thank you to everyone who's presented and for all the questions. It's been really, really insightful. I think the future of digital sustainability in government is a positive one. We have come so far since when we first started this a couple of years ago. So much has changed, so much progress has been made. We are really, really starting to move the needle on, embedding better practice. But we still have challenges. There's still so much we could be doing, so much. And the future, particularly from my perspective here, is that the one thing we need more than anything is for government to truly invest in digital sustainability. And when I say truly invest, it's the money, it's the resources, it's for it to stop being a sideline issue and actually come out to the front and say, we have to address this. Here is the resources to do it. And it needs to be picked out now. I say that knowing the other departments in the room have the same challenges I have. We need to have more resources to do this, and I think we actually also need to look for events like this and others about better collaboration with sustainability startups. I was really interested to read yesterday that the sustainability sector is worth £84 billion per annum, and tech is the fastest growing area within it at roughly 22% per annum. There are some phenomenal tech startups addressing digital sustainability, and we need to identify them and work with them. We are all about kind of, promoting UK technology and UK innovation. We should be doing it for sustainability. Ishmael pointed out about HETA. Phenomenal. Like, they're doing incredible things, and we should really, really, really pick out these startups and work with them and support them to move our agenda forward faster, better.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it was about a year ago that I saw the blog post from GDS about one login for government, and had Jennifer Marks. I didn't know who she was. I'm just going to email this team. And I think that's the approach that's worked okay for me. So basically just reaching out to people who have a similar mindset or similar concerns and goals, and trying to create some ripple effect. And for government, that means not just focusing on the emissions of your particular service, but talking about it, making this a conversation that people have every day. I remember, I grew up in the 1970s, and gay rights were not something we were allowed to talk about. Now we are very comfortable with a lot more topics than we were in the 70s and 80s. And I think we need to move that conversation around sustainability to that level of it's an acceptable topic to bring up over dinner or whatever, and not get into an argument.
Yeah, I captured quite a few things. I think the first is getting a really good balance between the link between IT for sustainability and sustainable IT. I think there's a lot of opportunities on the IT for sustainability that can actually have such a positive impact on the sustainable IT front. Some good examples are technologies that can be used for heat capture, mapping and monitoring. Now that helps with resilience, business continuity planning. Those are some of the things that we're looking at for our data centers at CGI, for example. Somebody mentioned UUE, which is the water measures, but actually I think there's very little that I've seen from colleagues on water and carbon footprint monitoring and measurement. So I think there's a whole host of topics on the IT for sustainability that actually have a fantastic positive impact on the sustainable IT discussion. I think the second is the conversation around the finance aspect of the triple bottom line, because the sustainability, of course, digital sustainability has got the E, S, and G. So the E is largely our finance. And it's largely around that building the business case for our sustainability and actually being able to incorporate the benefits and the impacts, the financial impacts of what we do on the sustainability front to help us build robust and strong business cases, which ultimately then help us with the resource aspect. Thinking with my ex-gov hat, I'm just thinking about the Treasury process in particular for, when it gets to that October, August period. I think Treasury have done such a great amount of work in enabling departments to articulate the financial impact and the sustainability impact of a lot of our projects and programs. But I do think that there's an opportunity there for digital sustainability personnel to actually tap into the opportunity to articulate those business cases more robustly, because ultimately then we're able to demonstrate the savings and the benefits of quite a lot of our programs, which might help with that case for resources and finances. And ultimately, that's also linking me back to that connection between digital sustainability and policy. Again, with my ex-DEFRA hat, with what we did in DEFRA, working closely with circular economy teams and wider. But I was also speaking to somebody from the Home Office today, and he was talking about some of the chips that are there within our passports and things like that. So there is a really strong link between what's happening at the policy side and actually what's happening on the digital sustainability side, and actually being able to weave that conversation and that narrative strongly could help develop a stronger case for our sustainability activities. And then the final point I'll mention is perhaps we maybe collectively need to spend a bit more time with our Green Book, because I think that Green Book, Treasury's Green Book, is underpinning a lot of technical assessments and accounting frameworks. from social value, Tom's framework, how you apply the impact and benefits of our technology on society. So maybe there's something there for us to work closely with the teams developing those.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one question to the panel, then I'm going to make you do a bit of work and try something a bit different. So you have been warned. My one question to the panel is something that's come through quite strongly is the importance of collaboration. Obviously, we've had a lot of public sector speakers, we've had some private sector speakers. I think Rachel's probably more from the sort of social enterprise part of the world. I'm here from civil society, that we've not talked about a huge amount. We've talked about academia as well a little bit. Working in the open seems to be a fundamental enabler of that. I think those one login blog posts have helped a lot of people get in touch with one another. What do we need to see next when it comes to fostering that collaboration between public sector, private sector, startups, civil society, social enterprises, third sector, academia? What do we need to see for the future?
I'll jump in. So another plug for GDSA. That's the perfect place for people to join, and we have monthly sessions that group does come together and work in the open. A thing that is coming next that isn't a good example of working in the open, but we want feedback on, is the green service principles that have been mentioned a few times today. Jennifer and Ishmael have talked about them. Ned and Guy have been working on them, and there'll be a GitHub page that will come out with those on them that we want people to look at and start using and testing and feeding back. And they cover an end-to-end service life cycle and pick up some of the points around practical things you should be doing on that service. So I think that's an example of us putting something out there and saying to all those organisations you talked about, how do you find it? Give us some feedback on it. But it's also an example of us having to do something a little bit outside the official process to start getting that feedback on it, because we can't always go through the kind of great big sign-off that we need for some of these things to be official.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good problem to try and solve. I think one of the difficulties of the civil service, the way it's set up, is that activities are very siloed. So you have, my department looks after pensions and disability and so forth, and NHS looks after health, and HMRC looks after taxation, but some things are cross-cutting. Climate change and environmental issues are not just DEFRA's job. And I think one of the problems we have in my communication internally is there is a perception that the environment is something that DEFRA does. We do pensions. So we need to break down these silos and do more cross-government collaboration and cross-government thinking and sharing. What I don't want to do is just focus on my own department's emissions. It's got to be a cross-government effort. And I'd love to include academia in this as well.
I agree, obviously, with both what Tom and Ishmael says, but I think more than that, the collaboration we've actually achieved so far is something we don't actually celebrate in terms of such a massive issue. There are no silos between us.
Yeah.
Like, we genuinely collaborate and work together when something like the Green Service Principles, which Ned and Guy lead on, is something we all feed into. We are all committed to. We all believe it is the right approach. When Ben does anything to do with climate resilience, what do you need? Ben will help you. It is that the lack of silos is something, I'm going to say, I certainly have never seen across government. Not that I've been in government for like 10, 15 years, just over 5, but it's something that we haven't seen. And it is something that we need to harness and really, really promote. But also, other departments need to have a go, let us form and be part of a coalition of willing people who want to work on this challenge together. And I think that's what we need. It's forget everything that you believe, and when it comes to digital sustainability and sustainability in general, actually leave your business models, everything out the door, and bring your solutions to the table for us to work on.
I think something that we've done through our SEEDS program is we've mapped the needs of the different stakeholders. So, civil society, non-governmental organizations, other private sector, academia, and we've aimed to understand what their challenges are: resources, time, digital capital, etc. And what we've done is to really look within CGI to understand the role that we can play to help those organizations. So it might be actually, from a CGI perspective, we might have a bit more time to draft something that they might not, but that doesn't mean that they're not interested. So we've actually looked at what are the motivators and how can we bring different stakeholders to that conversation to help us drive specific, bearing in mind what are their barriers and how and what role do we play as an organization to address those barriers to make sure that everybody feels included.
Great, thank you. Now this is where I'm going to try something a bit different. So I'm going to give you all 2 or 3 minutes in a moment. And what I'd like you to do is turn to the person next to you or behind you or in front of you and discuss one thing that you are taking away with you today. Now that one thing might be a thought on the future of digital sustainability in government. That one thing might be one insight you've heard today that you'd like to share with someone who's not here. Or it might be one action you're taking away with you. So have a chat in 2s or 3s. And we'll take a couple of minutes over that, and then anyone who'd like to share it with the rest of the room, we'll send the mic round, but also that's also a chance for any questions for our panel. So one thing, a thought on the future of digital sustainability in government, one insight you want to share with someone who's not here today, or one action you're taking away. Turn to the person next to you, in front of you or behind you. You've got 2 to 3 minutes. Go. You've got another 30 seconds. 30 seconds. If you could please bring your conversations to a close. You've had around 2 minutes. So final sentences, final thoughts, and we will all come back together as a group.
I don't even know what it is.
I'll send you a note on LinkedIn.
Excellent. So we are now going to send the microphone around. If anyone's got one thing that you want to share with the room, or if you've got any questions for our panel, now is the time to share your one thought on the future of digital sustainability in government, your one insight that you'll share with someone not here, your one action you'll take away, or a question for our panel. Who would like to go first? Right at the back, and then we've got somebody in the middle as well.
So I've kind of thought of the concept of dynamic obsolescence, but haven't heard it put that way. That's a really nice and neat way of describing it. The action, I think, for us is to look at the Tech Carbon Standard open source license and think about dropping the non-commercial clause, because we think that will allow other commercial organisations and perhaps other parties that I know would like to get involved but currently aren't because of that non-commercial clause. Yeah, so that's the 2 things for me.
Brilliant, thank you. And we had a hand up a few rows in front.
I was just talking to Ned about how we frame sustainability and how we get our message across. And my thinking was that maybe we need to give sustainability a bit of a rebranding and start talking about it in terms of efficiency. So efficiency in how we use water and energy and data and time. And then by default, carbon will follow. So not always focusing on the carbon element, because I think to a lot of people it's quite abstract for them to think about in their jobs, and sort of recognising that we are in a massive sustainability echo chamber here because we all talk about it and we all agree with each other. So just trying to reach out and talk the language of other people that don't always see sustainability or don't have that understanding of sustainability, and just take it on face value. And then Ned was saying, I think it was picking up on Jennifer's point around just trying to be a bit more positive around it, so a bit more of a can-do attitude. And obviously it is pretty doom and gloom out there, like the facts are the facts, so there's no disputing that, but trying to focus on some of the positives around what we can do and just gathering a bit more collective action on the issues. Like Jennifer was saying, it's for all of us to do, rather than just a select few in digital sustainability teams or falling on the shoulders of leaders.
Thank you. So just to summarise what that conversation was around this area. Kelly here said he'll take back Keep It Real for MOD. And from Essential, he's going to just raise awareness. I'm working at HMRC, and one of the priorities in the organisation is making tax digital. But I've not heard anything within Change Delivery Group about sustainability in the way we're approaching our projects and programs, portfolio level as well. So my question is the thinking around for the future, building communities of practice. Everyone's so geared towards SR2, spending review now, funding. And to Jennifer's point, it doesn't have to cost money. So is there something that we can share through One Long Change Delivery Group in HMRC?
Yeah.
Is there something around raising awareness through communities of practice across government? Your work collaborating to get that big plan. I've heard that, but how about just really making it across government?
Guilty admission here. I do actually owe Darren an email because he did ask if Emma and I would come and speak about how we've implemented the change in OneLog and how we identified it, and we are going to do it, and I will message Darren tonight to set that up, so apologies, but yes, we will share it. And We have always said in One Login that we will share as far and wide as possible how we've done it. But our biggest challenge is that it is just Emma and I. And now, Rada. Where are you, Rada? There you are, Rada. There's just 3 of us, and it's a huge programme of work for just 3 of us. So if we can share what we've done far and wide and actually encourage other people to take up the baton and to drive their own agendas using what we've done and using our example, not exactly because everything is different for each system, we would love that. And so I think, yes, we will share it, and we will share far and wide what we've done. And I promise I'll email Darren tonight.
Just to add to that a little bit as well. So in our team in DWP is a little different to GDS. So we're a central team. We don't have any projects that we're running. We're trying to basically light fires under different projects. We're always very happy to come out and give talks on this topic. Steve's here. You've met Steve. Others in our team can do that as well. So we don't have like practical experience of things we've done because we're more trying to instigate, like I said, fires in different places, get people fired up.
Anyone else in the audience want to share your one thing?
Hi there. Great discussion today and a great community. We talked about data a lot, and the one thing that I'm sort of really galvanised by is I want to seek out the metrics or measures that teams are getting excited about or starting to have some success with that make the thing come alive. Because it might be something really simple. It might be about motivation. I asked one of our guys, how will we measure it? And then they said, by engineer satisfaction, which I absolutely wasn't expecting. And so what measures and metrics could we use to make the thing come alive? That's my take.
Anyone else in the audience want to offer their one thing or have a question for our panel?
Yes, the one thing for me was that I wasn't aware there was any kind of cross-governmental discussion going on about these kinds of things, so I intend to go back to my workplace and ensure we're involved in that discussion, because we should be.
Which department are you from?
Land registry.
Anyone else from the audience? Yeah.
My question is for Matty, please. You mentioned earlier that sometimes it takes more than one conversation with people. It's quite a complicated topic. What would your advice be if you know a bit about sustainability and a bit about climate, but you're worried that you're not quite that person, because if they start questioning you, you don't have all of those facts to hand. You obviously have a PhD, but some of us don't have that extensive knowledge, but we do want to start having these conversations. What would your advice be?
I think it's just the recognition that we live in such a world where we have collaborators, partners, and people around us. I certainly don't know everything, but I know that I do rely on, for example, some of our government colleagues are here, and they have a better overview of what some of our colleagues in other departments might be doing and some of their challenges that are a little bit more specific and unique to them. I would just say look around sort of your ecosystem as a starting point to see who else is around you and who might have the knowledge or understanding that you can bring into that conversation to support. I know I've certainly done that for a few colleagues within Gov where they've been wanting to make a pitch or submit a business case, and we've given time to help develop that pitch and business case, and we've provided a critical overview of this is the challenge you might get, just to help prepare. So look around the sort of ecosystem around you to see who might be there and available to just perhaps support a conversation, or help prepare for a challenging conversation. And also, I think we've spoken about collaboration quite a bit. Sometimes I do love the power of workshops and getting people together in a room for a meeting, a virtual discussion, because through that actually you get to spark a lot of thought, debates, and other things that you might have otherwise not really thought about. So that's always, I would say that's generally a good starting point. And then as you progress, we might grow in confidence and might grow in better understanding of specific topics. And again, there's a lot of resources as well out there. We've got, from a CGI perspective, we've got a learning passport. Again, I'm happy to share that. That Passport's got information on training and courses that are freely available that people don't have to pay for. And these courses are an hour, 2 hours, 3, and they provide really good insights on specific topics. So there's a lot of resources out there, but feel free to reach out and I might point you into some areas.
Climate change, see that the interconnections of different systems and how they interact with each other, the feedback loops, and then look at actions within your remit. So Climate Fresk, have a look at it.
Thank you. We've got a few minutes left, so in a moment I will ask all of our panellists, and I'll go this way down the panel this time. Any final reflections, any responses to anything you've heard, including that metrics question, and indeed what your one thing might be to take away as well. But just to give you a sense of a few of the other things that have come up on Slido during this session, Oliver says that given the news net zero is driving £80 billion plus to the UK economy, surely investing and focusing on tech sustainability innovation is a no-brainer. Hub more for open collaboration across GDSA. Asks how long until we see a Chief Digital Sustainability Officer somewhere in government, and wonders if anyone has a list of short ROI digital sustainability measures. We've got a question from Anonymous to Matty, which is CGI is a major provider to government. What are you doing to implement better quality sustainability metrics from your data centres and services? And then we've got a couple of final anonymous points. One is nominated digital boroughs source third-party laptops for free use. Local residents have them for digital inclusion. Can we ensure correct data wiping beforehand? And a different anonymous point is when dealing with data and information that has to be stored for a long time, 50 to 70 years due to content or sensitivity, can this be managed in a sustainable way? So just to give you a flavour of some of the other things that have come up. But again, time for any final thoughts, final reflections, and your one thing to take away, and one thing that you would like to leave everyone else with.
So starting with me, firstly, can I say thank you to the organisers just for inviting us and for putting this fantastic event together. Actually, I've learned so much from those that I've spoken to today, and hopefully I'll continue to speak to a few more people today. I think the first point I'd like to make is that there are communities beyond us and wider, and actually we probably could do a little bit more to seek out who and what are those communities, because they have a lot to add to this conversation and this discussion. We spoke about academia, non-governmental organizations. There are so many stakeholders that I think could add a lot of value to this topic. The question around CGI's data centers, I'm really proud to say that actually our data centers are renewable energy, 100% powered by renewable energy. We've invested in solar panels at our Bridgend data center, which is the largest commercial actually solar powered data center and commercial building. If I'm correct, I'll send some links within Wales. So we're also doing a lot of work around things like heat capture, UUE, and have a lot of KPIs in that area. We are quite granular in our reporting, and I'd be happy to share some examples and case studies of some of the things that we're doing there. And then I think one final thing I might, and this is perhaps just for me, I think there's maybe a few conversations to follow up, because I know there's a green software guide and principle, and I know there's Guy and wider have been doing some amazing work on developing that, as well as Ned. I picked up on that, so really looking forward to seeing the principle and the guide being published. I'd love to follow up on that. I think software architecture, optimization, somebody spoke about efficiencies, is a really big topic, and I think anything we can do to share any resources and information that we have, be doing that after this meeting.
Yeah, I want to thank Matt, first of all, for putting this together. There aren't many green IT events in the UK, unfortunately, but they're going to be more in the future. Another event that I'd watch out for in September is the Green I/O conference in London, at a part of API Days, I think. Somebody described it as the Woodstock of green IT. It wasn't quite really Woodstock, but it was fun. It was really good. And the numbers in that, just to give Matt a bit of reassurance, the numbers probably trebled from year 1 to year 2. So I'm hoping that this event will mushroom and in a good way, and we'll see more of it. I guess another thing I want to talk about is that at the moment we're going through this AI hype curve. I don't think green IT is a hype curve. I think we're in it for the long haul. And whether we want to or not, we're going to have to make adaptations and changes in the way we consume things. So thank you for coming here and not running off to the other AI event that was probably happening somewhere in London today.
Also echo my thanks to Matt and team for putting this together. And I know if you choose to run it again next year, there'll be more people, because as Ishmael said, it'll only grow. I think this is a discussion for us to have separately. It's longer than I could just answer, but let's have a session on it. And I'll send you an email tonight as well. A lot of emails to send, as always. But my takeaway is, and it's always my takeaway, so I really should do it. I talk about OneLogin a lot, and I often think people are bored about me talking about OneLogin, because it's all I talk about. But I think more people want to hear about it, and actually they want to hear more about the detail of how we've done it, how we've actually, like Natalie spoke about it very broadly, and we chose to. However, we can go into more detail because there's so much that sits underneath how we actually did the methodology, how we got the team to do it, and it's kind of broad brush how we described it today. It was a lot harder than we made out, but the metrics that were set, the teams, the people that were involved, how we thought about it, how many times we got it wrong. Let's be clear, we got it wrong an awful lot. But we kept on going because sustainability is hard. There is no rule book of how you do it. Trust me, I'm not even planning to write one because I still know it will be wrong. So my takeaway, first of all, is I've got to start talking more about OneLogin until people are genuinely bored about hearing me talk about it. I know you two are. But also, just to reiterate my message of hope and positivity, we can do this. We have the power to transform sustainability from an obligation to an opportunity. We have the opportunity, it's in front of us. We have to rethink how we design systems, deploy them, and use the technology. And everybody can do this. Trust me, I know your name is Emma from Brent Council. See, I remembered. You sat there and said, you don't know. 2 years ago, I didn't know very much either, and I've gone on this massive learning curve, this massive journey for learning. Have I done loads and loads of courses? Actually, yes, I have. Have they all been fancy ones run by Cambridge University? No, they haven't. Has Ishmael helped me a huge amount? All the time. Has Tom and team? Yes. It doesn't matter where you are in this journey, it's the fact that you want to do it works, and we can have a net positive impact if we pull together, if we work together, and if we keep on getting our message out. Lydia, I totally agree, we need to reframe the messaging, better campaigning.
Cool, so again, thanks everyone. I think Gavin's chaired it really well, so I should say thanks to Gavin too for doing that. I won't kind of go over everything else everyone else here has said, but I agree with everyone else's comments. I think one thing we can do in DEFRA as the kind of cross-government lead on this is to make sure we do this kind of thing more often, whether it's in an event like this or virtually or somehow, but I think the value in that would be huge, and we can perhaps take an action to think about how we do that, but I'll keep it short.
Amazing, thank you all. And please do join me in a huge round of applause for Matty, Ishmael, Jennifer and Tom.